Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So today we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the Prefecture Pikemen. Going to be a fair scroll down the list. Where are they? Aha, here they are. So actually been quite a while since I visited this unit. Let's take the unit skin off so we can actually see what they look like. I originally visited these way back when they used to be crazy powerful. Their charge used to basically kill absolutely everything in their path. And they got massively nerfed, and I basically put them on the shelf and have forgotten about them for about a year. And a few people mentioned about actually kind of having a look at these guys, and I thought, well, it'd be kind of a fun and fairly easy one to level up. They max out at 16, so it's not a too bad one just to grind them out. And I don't want every single unit review on my channel just to be on good units. It's kind of cool to look at these, I don't say bad units, but more average or perhaps slightly older units, just to see what they're like, even if the conclusion is that they're not necessarily very good. So, kind of what are the Prefecture Pikes all about? Well, they're basically a pike unit without a brace, and that's what makes them fairly bad in most situations. So because they get no brace, they're no real use at sort of holding the line, they're no benefit against putting them up behind a spear wall, no benefit against cav, anything like that. The only thing they really have is a charge. So it's really almost not thinking about them as pikes at all, but more as a shock troop, which actually describes them as. They're all about that charge. In hand-to-hand and melee, they're not great. They could be worse. Because they actually have pikes, they do fight reasonably well, because they actually have a fairly distanced stab, so they can actually fight at some range, particularly into the larger fights. So they could be worse, but their damage in hand-to-hand really isn't that great. You know, we're looking at, what, 1100 piercing damage? They actually have decent penetration, but the damage still isn't high enough to really make it a particularly impressive unit. But where they kind of come into their own is their unit charge. It's kind of an interesting charge. It doesn't really seem to push through anything. So if you compared it to, say, like a Reaper charge or a Sereg charge, something like that, or a Cavalry charge, which hits and continues through a model, these guys don't. When they hit, they apply the damage and they pretty much stop. But they do apply quite a chunk of damage in that initial hit. So that kind of makes them fairly bad at charging enemy units, but it does make them very good at charging enemy heroes. At least if you can catch them in the right sort of spot. And that's really what this unit is all about. If you can get the charge to land and hit an enemy hero with a couple of models, then you'll probably kill them. It doesn't make them a super effective unit. Realistically, more often than not, an enemy hero will just roll back into their own unit, and then you'll just do a little damage to the enemy unit, and then, you know, it'll be something like condos. They'll press the 2 button and you'll die. But it does, on occasion, have those moments where you do manage to cleanly hit an enemy hero, and it is really quite satisfying. Might not be the best unit in the game, but it is quite a fun unit to use sometimes. Particularly when you get to go those hero kills, because it's yeah, you know you've annoyed someone when you kill them with a Prefecture Pikeman charge, and that is quite satisfying. So let's hop in, just do a quick little bit of gameplay. Going to be a fairly short video today, but let's just hop into a few battles and kind of see how we've been getting on with them. I don't normally leave these starting bits in. More often than not, it's me just badly shooting an artillery. But from this moment on, I wish to be called Evo, the artillery god, as you'll see from this shot very shortly. Not the opening shot, didn't go quite so well. But yeah, I've got the Prefecture Pikes with me. Kind of start with them, just kind of waiting for some of the siege towers and stuff now to get into position. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. Oh, missed. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for, these siege towers to get in. Then I want to get up, and I want to be looking to either push the B point or kind of push along and clear the top of the gateway. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. And that's kind of the two things I was trying to look at here. Get more shots in. It wasn't going too badly for me. I'm normally pretty shocking with artillery. Things were going quite well. I thought, oh, feeling good. I thought, oh, let's give it a long shot. Oh, I mean, just... come on. I mean, that was pretty good. Be impressed. I was pleased. That's the only reason I left this bit of the video in. Anyway, siege tower's still moving in, and I'm starting to call the unit up to me. Kind of a nice starting unit because of the charge. Makes it quite effective at charging up siege towers if enemy heroes stand at the top and everything, because as I say, it might not be great against units, but it does kill enemy heroes really quite effectively, and that's kind of what this unit is all about. So still just waiting for these Martellatori to push in. Looks like we've got a few friendly troops starting to push up, so maybe B is going to be a viable push, particularly as I'm not sure we're necessarily going to get our other siege tower in on the B front, so it's kind of what I'm thinking about. Calling the unit over to me. Obviously it takes a little bit of time for them to turn up. Just having a little bit of a look at what we've got in terms of any troop numbers and thinking about kind of my next moves. one thing you really have got to bear in mind with these guys is that obviously they have no shield, but they also have very, very poor defensive stats. If you start getting hit by, well, anything really, but particularly range and stuff, you will go down really, really quickly. So as we push up the siege tower, I notice there is a little bit of stuff to the right stood on top of the gateway. So I could either go left to the B point or right over to here. Quite a few enemy heroes turning up. Looks like some Prefecture guards turning up. A clearly superior unit generally to these Prefecture Pikes. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let's just ignore that and go to the B point. But as we start to head over there, they really do start to push up. And I think, well, if I don't, they're just going to overwhelm our troops coming off the siege tower. I've really got to do something. Going for a treb and think, well, if I can hold them there, then I'll be doing quite well. As they come round, we get the charge. And as I was saying about the hero kill, there's one, there's two, and both of them are dead. It's hard not to enjoy that. As I say, not a particularly great unit, not amazing at anything, but it is very, very satisfying when you get hero kills like that. It's just really, really enjoyable. I can't help but not enjoy it. So we push on, trying to push into these Prefecture Guard. Didn't know if the hero who controlled them was dead. Was just being conscious about that treb that was coming in. So just trying to keep the damage up. But then we get stacked by a full stack of Azaps. Managed to actually catch quite a few of them in a cluster with my hero. But then I pull back because our charge is just about to come off cooldown. Just group ourselves back up. This poleaxe nicely stands on the front line, so I go in, get the bump on him, and there goes the third hero. So we've got 3 heroes now. And you see there's almost that delayed damage to them, which is kind of strange, but it still seems to do it. And even now in melee, they actually fight okay, even against this unit of Azaps, holding them on the stairs, understandably. I was pulling back, thinking about it again, but I've still got too long on the cooldown, and it looked like we were overwhelming what's left of these Azaps, so I still kind of pushed through and finished them off. But we have killed far more value in leadership than what we've lost there. Shows how this unit actually can be quite effective in the right situations, but it's just, by and large, these situations are quite rare. So we are in and pushing on Sun City. So far the team has actually already captured the B point. It's actually kind of rare really, it's normally always the A point that ends up falling first. But as soon as we come up the ladder, this group of Pavese crossbows stood kind of between us and more friendly units coming the other way. They're certainly going to die. A bit of a strange unit with these Pavese. They were very dominant in Season 3, but they've really lost quite a lot of their edge since then, got quite heavily nerfed. And I'm still seeing quite a lot of them around, which is kind of surprising really. But the unit catches up there a little bit late in arriving. I was running on a horse, so not all that surprising. They are actually quite a fast unit. They are quite mobile. They do get around the map quite quickly. I was just having a quick look then at that supply point, because if the enemy do get set up on it, they can defend it quite well. But I thought, let's get stuck into combat. Let's go for the A point. And this is the situation I mostly find myself in with this unit. Okay, there might be enemy heroes around, but realistically, you can't hit them. And in reality, is what I do is crash into a couple of condos and I get 1 or 2 unit kills and apply a small amount of damage. And that is what happens in most charges with this unit. And it's what means the unit isn't that great. But with support like this, with a friendly shield all there to sort of half cover them, you see actually the damage they do is quite good. You see they actually hit quite hard and they do actually apply damage quite effectively. Particularly those big cluster fights, because they can use their long pikes to actually stab in situations where other units are stuck too far back to be able to get in. So they are okay in hand-to-hand combat, but it's just not really what they excel at. And obviously they are much worse than something, say, like a Prefecture Guard of equivalent here. So we're just capturing the A point. Took a couple of losses in pushing on the A point, but nothing too bad. Still quite a stack of the unit left, although they really could do with a little bit of a heal by this point. So I'm pushing myself back down, kind of looking where I'm going to go. Obviously this supply point is the obvious one to go to, and it doesn't look like my fears of the enemy actually defending this have come true. We've captured it already and there's really no one here. So I'm pushing on, getting the unit healed up, getting them back up to health, and then I'm going to be pushing on, looking for my next target. Obviously C point is going to be the place to go, but trying to push these guys frontally, often you find, particularly at C point, there's quite a lot of enemy range there. And kind of as I said earlier on, no shield, very low defensive stats make these guys pretty vulnerable to enemy range fire. And if you get caught out in the open, you can lose the whole unit extremely quickly against something like a unit of Namkhans. So you've got to be really careful in this sort of situation. And you can see me thinking about this, and actually we start getting hit by enemy ranged here already, and I don't want to go that way. Let's go on a bit of a wild flanking manoeuvre and kind of see what we can find, or see what we can achieve going around the back. As we push around here though, kind of frontally pushing through and bump into an enemy short sword hero. Now this is where, because the unit takes such a long time to charge, you know, I can't really charge him and effectively expect to hit him, so I just ignore him, pull back. This Maul, on the other hand, nicely stands still, pop, and he goes, instant death. We actually only hit him with a couple of models of the unit there, but he dies super fast. And we overwhelm what's left of his Prefecture Guard, get them killed, and that leaves these archers nicely exposed. No real achievement in killing archers, you know, any unit will do pretty well on it. But you get a bit of an idea what the unit hits for against low army units. We're sort of hitting sort of 1,000 to 1,500. They hit pretty hard, and ultimately we end up just pushing into this unit of Martellatory. Again, not exactly a great example. Most things can beat Martellatory, and if a Silver Era unit can't, then that's pretty poor. But I tried to get another charge in there, but it shows that without the sort of run-up, the charge doesn't really do a lot of damage, and really don't get any damage out of that one. And then unfortunately, you get hit by quite a few enemy heroes. Start to get overwhelmed, get kidnapped, thrown into a corner, and shot to death by a few archers. So that really sort of sums up my experience with these guys so far. Quite a fun unit, but probably not necessarily a very effective one. If you're a very experienced player looking for a fun little challenge, then these guys are actually really quite fun to get hero kills with. I'd actually recommend you give them a little bit of a try. It's quite a good challenge. But if you're a newer player or trying to play well or competitively, then I think there are definitely better units to be picking than these Prefecture Pikes. But anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for a lot more Conqueror's Blade content.